Have we just found paradise? Welcome to the Cocos Keeling Islands, where we'll be for the next 7 days. Sit back and enjoy as we show you paradise. We're Andrew and Leonie, and we like to cruise.
Join us on our travels all over the world as we review a range of cruises, cruise lines, all types of shore excursions, and occasionally an exceptional non-cruise adventure.
And remember to like and subscribe.
In this episode, we're going to take a look at a spectacular non-cruise travel adventure. We visited the remote island paradise that is the Cocos Keeling Islands.
Now, I wonder how many people have actually heard of the Cocos Keeling Islands.
I hadn't till, probably a couple of years ago.
The Cocos Keeling Islands are part of the Australian Indian Ocean territories. The Cocos lie 3,000 kilometres northwest of Perth in the middle of the Indian Ocean. They are actually closer to Indonesia, Malaysia and Sri Lanka than to Australia. There are 27 islands in the Cocos Keeling archipelago, with roughly 450 Cocos Malay living on home island and 150 largely Australian expats living on the much larger West Island. So it's a tiny population, just 600 people.
How do you get there? Well, there's not a lot of choice. Only Virgin Australia flies there. Only 2 flights a week, Fridays and Tuesdays at the moment. If you come from the east coast of Australia like we do, Melbourne, in our case, Melbourne to Perth, you've got a 4-hour flight there. You need to overnight in Perth so you can make the Cocos Keeling Islands flight the next day. The Friday flight from Perth is just under 2 hours. That takes you to Leonie, which is Exmouth. You sit on the plane, which is a little bit unusual, an Airbus A320 for about 50 minutes while the plane refuels. Then it's another 3 hours, 10 minutes or thereabouts to the Cocos. And there's only one airport for passengers anyway, and that's on West Island. There's a basic meal service on both legs with a non-alcoholic drink, basic. If you have a large appetite, take some snacks on board with you. There's no charging ports, no plugs on the plane. The entertainment is via Virgin Wi-Fi BYO device. It seemed a bit more like a ferry via plane than a full service flight, but it got the job done.
The first European to see the Cocos Keeling Islands was William Keeling, a British sea captain who spotted the archipelago on a voyage home from Java with the East Indies Company in 1609. The islands weren't inhabited until 1826, when another Englishman, a merchant Alexander Hare, established a permanent settlement and began a coconut harvesting operation. Another British trader, John Clunies Ross, arrived a year later in 1827 and began his own settlement. Both recruited Malays to work on their coconut plantation. The workers were paid in Cocos Island rupees, a currency that was only redeemable at the Clunies Ross company store. Clunies Ross and Alexander Hare had a poor relationship, with both claiming ownership of the island group. Hare left in 1831, never to return, leaving the Clunies Ross family as sole rulers of the islands, a position they would enjoy for the next 150 years.
Now let's talk about what we did on the Cocos Keeling Islands. Day one, so the day we arrived, we met with Johnny Clunies Ross, the 6th generation of the Clunies Ross dynasty, son of John Cecil Clunies Ross, who sold the islands to the Australian government in 1978. We did a 2-hour e-bike tour with Johnny through his business PHAT tours. Neither of us had ever been on an e-bike before. In fact, it had been quite a while since either of us had been on a bike. Johnny showed us how the e-bikes worked, encouraged us to have a play on the grass outside his home, just as well, because I couldn't even balance the bike to start with. And I thought, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But I got the hang of it once I worked out that when you touch the throttle, you just go. And I just managed to hang on most of the time.
We're with Cocos Keeling Islands royalty, really. There's no other word for it. Johnny's Clunies Ross, thank you very much for taking us out today and showing us the island. Johnny runs PHAT tours here on West Island, and he has electric bikes. We've been out for a tour through the coconut forest, through the tracks, and we went out onto the beach as well. Johnny, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background of your family history and how this place came to be.
here a couple of hundred years ago now, so before Australia was federated, and it was meant to be a trading base basically, because most of the family were in shipping or on ships or captains, and so the idea was to use this like a base where you could pick up fresh water, drop things off, pick things up, pick up new crew, all that kind of stuff, but it never quite worked out like that. And so we just ended up just growing coconuts for a few generations, and now we're renting bikes.
Yeah, right.
And just come by and I'll show you how to use them and give you a bit of a spin on what to do, what not to do, and how to keep the coppers happy and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to tour and the backtrack like this one, they're a bit hard to find sometimes. They're not on any map.
Yep.
And so I can show you around a little bit and show you some little spots where you can go for swimming and stuff like that.
This is amazing. A lot of fun with Johnny Clooney's Ross. We're learning just about everything we need to know about the Cocos Keeling Islands. Johnny is a fountain of information, and he's been telling us stories from his childhood. He has a deep affection for the Cocos Keeling Islands and its future. It's been a real privilege. So what do you think?
Right, don't look too closely because I did have a little minor stack, and I think I've got a couple of little grazers, but never mind. Great adventure. Sorry, trying to work out how to slow down. Great adventure, never been on an e-bike before, really fun. Fat tyres so they handle the sand and the backtrack. I don't handle it that well, but I only had a half a stack, so that was okay. Really fun. If you come here to West Island on the Cocos Keeling, hit Johnny Clooney's Ross up, Fat Tours, PHAT Tours, and you'll have a great 2 hours, even in the rain.
We went straight from Johnny to the Gun Club Beach, where Marty Bertram and her daughter from Cocos Picnics had set up a gorgeous twilight picnic for us. On a rug with loads of cushions, fairy lights, we watched the waves and the frolicking turtles, whilst we drank sparkling wine and ate sweet and savoury treats. The picnic basket was quite extraordinary. We've obviously got some footage of it, and to be honest, was the best meal we had whilst we were on the Cocos Keeling Islands.
E-bike riding made us hungry.
Made us hungry.
It was a beautiful spot. Day 2 we spent at Direction Island, or as the locals call it, DI. We took the 9:30 a.m. ferry, fully aware that we were stranded there until the 3:30 p.m. ferry.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. We're a bit concerned because the weather wasn't too great, but we were assured, don't worry, it's not going to rain. Anyway, we took with us fresh water, snacks and lunch. We took books, towels, mozzie spray, sunscreen.
A machete.
Yeah, we'll get to that. There's roofed shelters there, which are called pondocks, a word I hadn't come across before. Tables, beaches and, obviously it's beaches, benches and eco toilets. So there are some facilities.
The ferry ride takes about 20 to 25 minutes, and an adult fare is $5 Australian return. So the note to all of you is they'll only accept cash. There's no credit card facilities for payment. We're all set for a magnificent day, but it rained on and off all day. Some of the time it was actually raining sideways, so we couldn't even read for fear of drowning our books. Despite the rain, we managed to walk part of the Direction Island Heritage Trail. There are some really interesting signboards about the famous World War I Battle of the Cocos Keeling Islands between the German light cruiser Emden and HMAS Sydney. The Sydney sank Emden and was the Australian Navy's first victory at sea in one of the first sea battles of World War I.
Yeah. I have whinged a little bit about the rain, but it was warm all day, so we were able to do things like do that walk and have an explore. It was beautiful. There was something else that took my attention, which is unusual for me because I'm not one who watches a lot of nature documentaries. I usually find them a bit boring. But the crab action on that island was my entertainment, my television for a few hours. And Andrew's entertainment was the machete.
It was my survivor moment.
How to cut open coconuts and drink the fresh coconut water. We've got some footage of that luckily for you is abridged. While he was doing that, crabs came from everywhere to eat the leftover coconut flesh. Yeah, there were hermit crabs, there were horned ghost crabs, and I didn't know what they were, but there were signboards there telling me what they were.
Direction Island is absolutely gorgeous. The absolute epitome of a deserted tropical island. When it's raining, it can get a little boring, but I'm still very, very glad we went, as it was a treat to see the amazing beach, the feasting crabs, and to read about the fascinating history of the islands.
Yeah, look, I agree. Note to anyone who's interested in going the ferry at the moment, check the schedules because I'm sure they change, but at the moment only goes twice a week, Saturdays and Thursdays.
Day 3, we drove to the southern end of West Island and walked along a couple of beaches which became favourites, Scout Park and the Yacht Club Beach. Both have shallow, calm, warm water and beautiful, fine, soft sand. The water is very warm, about 28 degrees, I think, during our visit. Yeah. And we enjoyed a swim in the lagoon as we did every day. The lagoon is fringed by coconut palm trees, and together with the colours of the water, it is just a magical part of the islands and in fact a magical part of the world. Rain set in, unfortunately, in the afternoon, and we read and snoozed the afternoon away, but it was a very, very relaxing day and a very relaxing spot.
Absolutely. Well, we talk a little bit, we already have, about the weather. We didn't cop the best weather in the Cocos Keeling Islands. Bit of rain, quite overcast.
There were 2 cyclones that were sandwiched between the Cocos Keeling Islands when we were there. So,
but that's life.
It is life.
And we'll tell you more about it, but we still loved it despite the weather. Just limited what we could do sometimes. Day 4, we were up early for a sunrise motorised canoe safari with Cocos Day. This was my personal favourite excursion. Do you want to just talk about what a canoe safari is? Because I didn't know.
You have a canoe, and to make sure that the canoes don't tip over, they've actually got outriggers on either side, and the canoe is powered by a small outboard motor.
So we had a guide. His name was Hayden. He was lovely. He showed us how to operate the outboard motor, which was news to me. Andrew's used boats all his life, so he knows how to do it. But if you're a novice like me, you learn pretty quick. And we motored to South Island, which was about 20 minutes away, and it was such a treat. We'll put some footage up.
I'm not sure what you can hear because the output's a little bit noisy. Andrew can't hear me, so I can say whatever I like. Anyway, he's behind me driving. And we've just started. It's 5 to 7 in the morning. Just started our 20-25 minute motor along from West Island to South Island on a motorised canoe tour, a first for us. So far, very fun. Have a look at the water, how clear it is. Shallow and clear. Tell me what, it's a bit easier than rowing.
That was fantastic, and we got out. We stopped a few times and got out. So Hayden took us on a walk the first time through some jungle and told us some stories. He showed us how to open a coconut. We drank the coconut water. We ate the flesh, which is called copra, C-O-P-R-A. You picked up a germinating coconut, which is a coconut that's got like a leaf or a coconut palm, a coconut plant growing out of it. And Hayden showed us that when you open one of those, you have a thing called a coconut apple inside. And
sometimes it's called coconut fairy floss.
Okay, that's right. And we were able to try that, so very cool.
What do you think?
This is gorgeous. It's absolutely paradise lost.
I was about to say paradise lost. We've been married too long. Yeah, incredible. We just had a lovely little morning tea, well, breakfast I suppose, including champagne and beer, so nice breakfast.
No, this is a great tour.
Yeah, nice chat with the other people on our tour.
and just how divine is this?
Hayden, what can punters typically expect when they come out on a canoe safari with you?
Canoe safari? Yeah, it's like a tour that's not really anywhere else I've been on. So you get to your own canoe with a motor on the back, 2.5 horsepower. So even if you've had no experience driving a boat, you get to drive these canoes around. And we do a bit of island hopping. So we do 4 islands, which is really cool. We get to go for a snorkel, really easy, nice snorkel. We drift around the actual island, which is pretty cool.
Day 5, we were meant to go on I was meant to go on a sea scooter excursion, that's right, you were meant to go fishing. I couldn't do the sea scooter because of the winds, but we were able to go on the fishing charter.
Yeah, and I think I twisted their arm behind their back so far that they agreed.
I just thought, get rid of this pain and just take him. Your number 1 reason for going to the Cocos was to fish.
So it's a beautiful little keeper passion fruit coral trout. Look at the colours on it, absolutely gorgeous. Conditions have been tough today. It's probably 20 knots. Thank you, Hayden, for persisting. Absolutely fantastic. And what can you typically expect to catch in the lagoon?
So we mainly target coral trout. That's our main one we do. So we'll be trawling for them. So we usually do like a 3-hour lagoon fish, which we call it, and yeah, that's with kind of targeting coral trout, but we can get cod, flowery cods, some bluefin trevally, some types of emperors as well.
We had a great 3-hour trip, and I was lucky enough to catch the fish which I came here for, which was a passion fruit coral trout. If you believe that such a fish exists, which it does.
Well, I believe, because you then came back and cooked it, or filleted it first and cooked it, and it was delicious.
Yeah, in some countries coral trout is called grouper, but it is, I think it's one of the best eating fish you can possibly have anywhere in the world.
Day 6, we had the sea scooter tour with Dieter Gerhard of Cocos Dive. We launched the scooters from Scout Park. They're very cool machines, which you'll see in the footage. I felt like it was sort of like a torpedo, the front part, and the rest of it chopped off with your handles.
Have you used a sea scooter before?
No, I've never even heard of one. Word of warning, to participate fully in this tour, you really need to have water and snorkeling confidence, and you need to be able to keep your head underwater for a prolonged period. I'm claustrophobic, so it wasn't really for me. I was happy to zoom along with my head not underwater for too long and play, and I did that in front of Scout's Beat. So Andrew and Dieter were a tad more adventurous, which doesn't take much because I'm not adventurous at all with keeping my head underwater for a long time. They powered against the current across to Pulu Maria, I think that's how you say it, and they scooted around the pools. You should really say what you saw, and then after that we had
thousands. We saw thousands of fish, beautiful coral. Again, the water was crystal clear. Lots of black-tipped reef sharks. It was exhilarating.
No, it was a really unique tour and really unique experience.
All right, well, we're here with Dieter from Cocos Dive. Just had a wonderful sea scooter tour. So the tour normally, tell us how that works, Dieter.
So with our half-day sea scooter tour, we pick people up and go across to Direction Island. When we get there, we assess everybody's snorkeling skill, give them any hints or tips, and hopefully make it more enjoyable for them. The idea is we're not teaching someone how to snorkel, but we are sort of assisting them and giving them a few pointers, because a lot of people have never had professional instruction on snorkeling, and when you show them a few more things, they go, great, just learn something. From there, then they use the machine, and we get progressively more adventurous. Usually explore the rip for about an hour, and then the broccoli patch. Then we stop for something to eat and drink mid-morning, and then that usually leaves us another hour, half an hour to an hour in the water to either go and look for mantas, dolphins, or potentially go and do a finish off on a beautiful wreck called the Phaeton, which was a tall ship that's wrecked here in the lagoon. And then we're heading
back home, usually getting back to West Island between 12:30.
Sounds fantastic. Is fantastic. So if you're planning a trip to the Cocos Keeling Islands, make sure you book a sea scooter tour with Dita's business, Cocos Dive. Thanks for your time, Dita.
Pleasure.
Day 7 we had a boat trip booked with Cocos Blue, but it was too windy, so we spent most of the day at our fave beach, the Yacht Club. I took my fishing rod and fished for a while. Leonie took lots of photos, and I think you did a little bit of riding. And we've actually got a great video of a very curious reef shark that wanted to get pretty close to our toes. We were at the Cocos Keeling Islands the first week of February 2025. That's actually low season for tourists. We had a fair bit of rain and a lot of wind, which affected what activities we could do. Also, because it's low season, some restaurants were shut and some tours were not offered as the owners or staff were off island having their own holiday at that time. So, hot tip, carefully consider what time of the year you want to visit.
We stayed at Cocos Cottages. There are 3 self-contained cottages in that group, all with views across to a beach. No television, but there is Wi-Fi and it was good. It was strong enough to stream. We video called our kids. We watched Netflix a few nights. So as long as you've got some options, if you care about television, you can make do. Having Wi-Fi is really handy wherever you stay because there is no mobile phone reception.
None.
Nada. We had a 2-bedroom cottage with a kitchen and a washing machine. The kitchen was well supplied, had a full-size fridge. The best part for me of the cottage was the deck area, which was roofed but open on 2 sides, and that's where we spent most of our time.
Yeah, so
during
the
day.
lounge room or the living room is actually open.
Yeah. When I say the terrace, whatever, that's the lounge room living area. Yep. Location very handy. 5 minutes walk from the airport, supermarket, restaurants, and the bus. So very central.
If you're looking for 5-star accommodation on a holiday that comes with daily cleaning and say a turn down service, Cocos Cottages is probably not for you. But indeed, the Cocos Keeling Islands are probably not what you're after either.
No.
We found Cocos Cottages to be very comfortable. The manager, Marty, was super friendly. She actually checked in on us almost every day to make sure that we had everything we needed and was a reservoir of advice, updates and recommendations. Thanks Marty.
Yep.
Something very different to us was that there are no keys in the Cocos Keeling Islands. You don't lock your cottage, and you are told please leave your key in the ignition of your car and don't lock the vehicle. I think that's got to do with if you lose your car key, it's more cost and more trouble to get a new one.
We kept stuffing up on that. It's just old habits.
We didn't lose any keys, but...
No, we kept taking the key with us and we kept looking to lock the cottage. Like in a hotel room, we often put our laptops in the safe, and here we're leaving everything.
Everything open. But there was no problems,
no.
And we had not heard of any problems in the previous months or years.
And maybe that's something about it being so remote. Like there's no trouble because you're going to get caught. So just don't.
There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, literally nowhere to hide. But whatever the reason, it added to the novelty of the whole experience.
In terms of food and dining, we mainly self-catered. There is a supermarket on West Island, but when we visited, the supply ship was already 6 weeks overdue. So the poor islanders, the shelves were getting pretty bare at that stage.
To be honest, they didn't seem bothered. We asked a few people. It's just like that's par for the course. They planned for it. We didn't.
Luckily, we brought a pile of snacks with us. We did think about bringing meat and vegetables, but weren't really sure how they were going to travel all the way from Melbourne. So we decided not to and just bought snacks and some dehydrated meals. If I go again, when I go again, I will take a quantity of fresh meat and vegetables.
Yeah, I think when we got off the plane, we were stunned because there was esky after esky after esky coming off. And
I think we were the only people that didn't have esky coming off. We weren't quite in the know.
We learned our lesson.
Fresh bread is baked twice weekly at Salty's at the airport. When I say at the airport, I actually mean in the airport. We ordered a loaf online, so it was ready for us when we landed. Salties also does barista coffee every morning except Sunday. When we visited, the coffee beans were from... it's actually
but you know it's good.
It's actually pretty good coffee, and we got one every day.
Yeah, we did.
To talk more about Salties, they usually do fish and chips on a Friday night for dinner and pizza on Sundays, Tuesdays and Fridays. The pizza was actually delicious. It was really good. Crispy bases and lots of options for toppings. You can eat them at Salties or take it next door to the pub, which we did.
That's called the Cocos Club.
And believe it or not, they deliver onto the aircraft, so you can have a pizza on the way back to Perth.
Cocos Club, so that's the pub next door to the airport, almost part of the airport. Doesn't do food, but you can have a drink there, you can buy alcohol there and take it back to your accommodation, which is duty free. We didn't even realise at the time. And they also sell frozen meat barbecue packs. There's a restaurant that opens 7 days, breakfast, lunch and dinner. That's called Tropica, Tropika. We had dinner there one night, which was a flat fee of Aussie $50 a head. Weird fun fact, another one, if you want to go there you need to put your name down on the whiteboard at the front of the restaurant by 3 p.m. That's how they know how many to cater for, so that was novel. Dinner is a buffet. The night we went there, the options were French fries with a lot of chicken salt, battered fish fillets, which were really yum, plain rice, there's a couple of curries, there was a cauliflower and white sauce, there was scalloped potatoes, some salad. Dessert was tinned fruit cocktail, and there was a sign apologising for no ice cream, so I assume ice cream's normally offered.
Maybe that was on the cruise, on the ship that hadn't arrived.
Maybe. As someone I met on Cocos said, Tropica isn't going to win a Michelin star, but it's a meal that I didn't have to prepare or wash up, so that's a win. And to finish off about restaurants on West Island, there is one other one called Surfer Girl Brewery, but it was closed for the month of February, so we didn't get to try it.
My hot tip is to make sure you take some food with you. Not sure I've ever recommended that before on a trip anywhere.
No, another of the novelty, unique quirks of the Cocos Keeling Islands. So, in my opinion, if you want a tropical holiday with shops, nightlife, Wi-Fi everywhere, lots of restaurants to choose from, resort-style accommodation, don't go to Cocos Keeling Islands. Cocos is laid back and quiet. It's the absolute essence of an unspoilt island paradise.
If you really do decide that you want tropical but quiet, then think about when you come. Maybe low season is not the best, as some restaurants and activities are not on offer. Also think about how long you come for. We were initially going to come for 4 days, but stretched it to 6. Given that we had rain and a fair bit of wind and some activities were cancelled, maybe we should have come for longer. I think probably 10 days would have been perfect, so that we had some extra days in case the weather doesn't play ball.
So let's move to our he said, she said questions to wrap the episode up. Andrew, did you get bored?
Not at all. We had a really full and interesting visit to these islands. I never grew tired of the views. The views of the palms, the lagoon and the islands were continual pinch me moments. They were out of this world vistas. What a privilege. Too many highlights for me to single out in any one experience. I loved it all, and I personally can't wait to come back.
Me, on the other hand, I was a little bit bored a few times, but you know what, I think that's okay. In this day and age, I think it's healthy to be a bit bored and not have your smartphone in hand ready to just grab for and mindlessly scroll through pictures and videos that don't add anything to your life. I enjoyed reading. We did watch Netflix a couple of nights, and I just enjoyed the peace and silence of staring at the beautiful water and really trying to drink in how gorgeous the views were and how lucky I was to be there. I don't want to sound like I'm just raving about the superlatives all the time, because maybe it sounds disingenuous, but it really was beautiful. Despite the fact that we didn't have great weather, it was really one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Well said.
So, Andrew, for people contemplating travelling to the Cocos Keeling Islands, what do you think they should be mindful about?
I think the first thing to say is it's not a resort holiday. It's probably largely self-catering, so you do need to bring some food with you. There are dining options, but they're limited. Check whether there is Wi-Fi where you're staying if that's important to you, because there is no mobile phone coverage. Be comfortable that you won't have ever-present Wi-Fi and embrace that so that you can really relax and unwind. Hiring a car is a great idea so that you can freely explore the islands and access all of the different beaches that there are on offer. There's kilometres of coastline. We hired a car through Happy Jacks and standard Australian road rules apply. There is a bus that goes to the town centre to the jetty. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, there is not a lot of accommodation, so it's important that you book in your accommodation before your flights. In fact, Dita from Cocos Dive told us you should book in your dives first, then your accommodation, then your flights. So to sum up, what did you think, Leonie, of the Cocos Keeling Islands?
I loved it. I thought it was beautiful, clean, safe, unspoilt. The trip from Melbourne wasn't as easy as, say, flying to Cairns or Bali, but once we got there it was easy. So it was very exotic, but it was very Australian. I felt very privileged to spend a week there. I honestly did feel like I was on a movie set. For those of you as old as me, think about Gilligan's Island. For those of you younger, think about Survivor. That's what I felt like I was there. And I did love watching those crabs.
And I did love catching the fish.
So to wrap up then, what about you?
For me, it was a quintessential island paradise. I loved it, and I 100% want to return at some point soon.
We hope you liked our review of our glorious week in the Cocos Keeling Islands. It wasn't a cruise, but it was a unique trip with some unique experiences. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.
If you have any questions, ask away and we'll do our best to answer them for you. If you have any comments, send them our way too. Until our next episode, happy travels and see you on the water somewhere.